So let's start looking at software engineer levels. So generally, software engineer can divide into following levels: software engineer, senior engineer, staff engineer, principal engineer, and distinguished engineer, and fellow. This is a generalized list. So each individual company has a different structure. So Google's structure is the most influenced in the industry. So you can see this graph from level.fyi, and then you can also search levels and salary on Glassdoor. Um, so, so when we talk about software engineer, we talk about the junior and then entry level software engineer. So the average salary of a junior software engineer is about 115K per year in Bay Area. So senior engineer can go normally have 3 to 5 years experience, and the average salary in Bay Area is 134K. And then here, after senior engineer, you can go to two directions. You can become engineer manager. So, or you can become an individual contributor to the project. So that would be staff engineer. So staff engineer normally means you have 6+ years experience and then have a salary average of 140K. The next level is the principal engineer. The majority engineer will not progress to this level. Principal engineers average salary is between 149K to 907K. And then if you keep going on the engineer path, you can become a distinguished engineer or a fellow. So there's really no limit on your engineer salary, but this position is really rare. So so here we only talk about salary. So you will also got stocks, sign-on bonus, and so on. So if you combine the entire package together, the number will be bigger. So it wasn't a surprise if you heard a senior or staff engineer telling you about he or she makes 500K per year. So let's move on to the next steps. So here we are focused on the gaps between junior and the senior engineer. We mentioned the salary in the previous slides. The experience is amount of year you have worked, but this doesn't necessarily define your seniority. For some people, they can reach a higher level in a shorter frame. Management and leadership skills is also important. A senior engineer is able to take more ownership of a project, training junior engineers. The knowledge part is the most important part. So to reach a senior level, you need to have expertise on a wide range of tools or technologies. For example, if you are a backend engineer, you need to know caching, for example, Redis. And you need to know message queue, for example, RabbitMQ. And then you need to know microservice. So the list can keep going on and on. And then for your code need to be easily maintained by other engineers and can be easily understood by other engineers. So you need to know system architect designs. performance. And then you need to take more ownership compared when you were a junior engineer. So instead working on partial of the project, you won't be able to guide the junior engineers on their project, help them to finish their project. So how can we close the gap? So basically we need to learn and professional growth. So professional growth, I mean, is within the company. So you want to take more responsibilities. So you want to take responsibilities to the next level. And then for learning part, so one thing is really good because you have the job. So you can get the on-the-job training. So basically you would learn, like for example, the RabbitMQ, Redis, everything you company use, you would learn during your work. And then you can also get some specific training program. There are big companies or third party. So something you probably want to use a specific tools inside the Google Cloud or AWS. There's other online studies. It's really helpful. One place is called Coursera. You can get, say, if you are engineer, you want to move to data scientist. So you can even get a certificate on Coursera. So yeah, and then you would need study system design. So you would study system design within the project in your company. And also another really good way to study system design is to study system design interviews. Very popular one is called grokking the system design interviews. Yeah, so let's move on to the next slide. So while we were learning and then growing, we need to look at getting to the senior position. So one way to do so is we got promotion within the company. Another way is we interview senior software engineer at other companies. So, but regardless, like which one we are going to get, regardless how we get to the senior software engineer roles, we need learn. And move to next one. So here I will talk more about senior software engineer interviews. So one thing you would say is a really simple one is lead code. Everyone knows lead code. So the good way to study lead code is you do like a certain amount of questions in each category. Say you do 2 questions in dynamic programming, 2 questions in linked list, 2 questions in tree. So you set up timer. For example, you set up timer for 20 minutes, and you see whether you get to the solution or you don't. If you don't get into solution, don't look at the solution. So you want to keep practicing like you problem solving skills, and you want to keep practicing how you develop this thought process. The most important part would be the system design question. So let's look this graph from the level.fii. So you can see Google have a few levels. So level 3 and level 4 is basically software engineer. So level 5 is a senior software engineer. So if you ever talk to a recruiter, you get the interview for level 3, you wouldn't get system design question. For level 4, you will get one system design question. It won't be really difficult. But for level 5, you would definitely get 1 or 2 system design questions. And then one of the question would be a hard system design question. So, and then majority time when you get this interview, they actually is really haven't defined your level, say you are level 4 or level 5, but they actually using your system design result to distinguish your level. So you can be marked to be senior or not senior. So other questions to prepare a senior software engineer would be a behavior question. As everyone know, the popular one is the Amazon leadership principle. And then the third thing is start building connections. So you will more likely to get hiring attractions or have a faster hiring process if you have a referral in the company. So to build connections, one way is it's really simple. We just ask our friends, and then we ask our friends' friends, and then we can go to meetups, company events, and then study groups. So even we meet someone, it's probably not directly give you a referral, but you slowly building your connections. And then especially if you start building connections with recruiters, you want to really keep a good relationship. Even if you passed this interview, let's say today at Amazon, you would be able to interview in 6 months. I'm talking about online assessment. So then you can go back to connect the same recruiter, and the recruiter would send you a link for the online assessment. So today, we basically talk about software engineer levels, and then we talk about the gaps between junior and senior engineer, and then learning and the growth. And then we talked about senior engineer interviews. So yeah, I hope this one is helpful. And then the most important is be curious, humble, and be patient, one step at a time. Thank you so much for taking time. If you want to get connected with me, you can check out my Twitter. Thank you. Oh, I saw there's some questions. Yeah, I'll add you on the LinkedIn. Yeah, I would love to be connected. And another thing, I think if you are a student, it's really good to join all the groups. Some group like Women Who Code. They are really well organized group. And then if you look their directors in San Francisco or the lead of Women Who Code in San Francisco or something, they are actually student in a university. So in that way, you would already can practice like algorithm and data structures, and then a lot like you would start making new connections. And also they run a lot of like really good events, and then you can also hosting event or to be a mentor in the event. So you can also practice your public speaking. So the second one is a resource for system design questions. So one good one is called, so the system design question, one super popular, if you check this website, the code that I do, I'll put in the chat. So it's called educative.io. It's called grokking the system design interview. So this one is really popular. And then another thing is called high. Let me actually pull up some of my list. So system design. Cool. The second one is this website. It's called High Scalability. Yes, exactly. And then another one, really good one, is this one. It's on GitHub. It's called the System Design Premier. Yeah. So, and also you would also see a lot like free YouTube videos about design a system. But I would say look look at the one at grokking the system design interview. So that is actually cover a lot really important information. So what do you think about titles of startup and the big corporations? I would say don't focus on the title too much, because I definitely know people is they are like engineer manager in a kind of like small-ish company, but then even some like a product manager. But when they get into the big companies like Google or Facebook, they still get this like entry level engineer position. I think focus on what you learn and what you know. So yeah, I'll post my LinkedIn. Uh, yeah. Cool. This is my LinkedIn. Yeah. So any questions, anything I can help with? I don't really know much in cybersecurity. I don't think it is, but I do find that if you say if you start working in a media company, you're likely to get your next job in a media company. So if you start working on back end, you're likely to find a job in back end. So if you start working in a company in security, your next job more likely to working in security. I don't think it's a must for software engineering position. Do you think it's easier to promote within a company or get higher level by changing a job? I think it depends. So if you want to get, so I think you would want to try both. So if you want to promote it within company, you probably so just talking about promotion inside the company. So you probably want to maybe have a list of things, what you have done so far, what you have improved. And also you want to have a conversation with your manager. So there's a really common thing people call this thing is called uh, BRAB, spreadsheet or something. So basically, you write down all you have done and what you all have you improved, and then you keep communicating with your manager, keep getting feedback, and also telling him what you have done so far. And then so because your manager normally don't really track what detailed jobs you have been working on, so you can have the summary, and then you getting feedback from your manager, and then you tell him you have been improved. But then also, I think a lot of people saying it's good that you find a mentor in the company. But I would say is how can I say this? So it's also, even sometimes even you try working a lot, you might just not get a higher position within the company, but you should try. And then also yeah, and also you should making this continuous learning and improving to be your main goal. So not promotion is part of your goal, but not direct goal. But you also have to be keeping good relationship with your coworkers, and then you can support them. Eventually, maybe you get this position or you don't, but you actually improve. I hope I answered this question. But I think you should always looking for the next job for the for the job in other company, because I definitely know someone, they're really junior level, but then he just got accepted at like a big company, and he just worked for 6 months and he got promoted to senior. But at his previous work, he never really get the chance to promote to senior. But I mean, you always looking both directions. Oh, so there's a few books. So let me go to the Amazon. So uh, mm, actually, let me get the book. So this book is actually called Design Data Intensive Applications. I think this book is really the best system design book. It's really comprehensive. It's kind of like a reference book. If you can understand maybe not all, like maybe even small percentage in this book, I think if you completely understand, you would be above staff engineer level. So this one is a really good book. But I actually thinking all the online classes for system design is really helpful. So especially I personally find helpful is to listen how other people design, just say design YouTube, how other people like end up, how they explain, how they design the questions. So because system design question is really open-ended question. You might just say, oh, you worked on one part, maybe for this interview you design YouTube, but you end up just really focus on the database part. But for different question company, you get interviewed same question. Maybe they want you hear more about maybe something like a load balancer or something. I find it's really nice to listen how other people design a system. Cool. Yeah, thank you so much. Oh, no, not disturbing. Cool. I guess I'll close for the sessions if there's no questions. Cool. Thank you so much. And also feel free to add me on LinkedIn and to say if I can help you on anything. Thanks. Bye. Bye. Bye.